Okay, hello, good evening, and welcome back to the Law Entrance YouTube channel and to another session of the Hindu analysis. Today is 24th of September. It's a Wednesday evening, and we are ready to start. How many of you are live? Can I have some responses in the chat, please? Jaldi say if you guys are live on the stream. Let's look at the agenda for the day. Meanwhile, देखते हैं आज क्या क्या है डिस्कशन के लिए. So we have four topics to discuss today. First one is regarding two articles, to be honest, and one is regarding NATO and Russia, and one is regarding Trump's statement in the UN G8. So ये दो articles हम साथ में कर लेंगे because these are closely related. Then there is another article which talks about cold start. What is cold start? Cold start is a drill. It's an exercise which would be conducted by India. More details on that later. Then the national awards have been announced. So we'll discuss what are the national awards and who has won the national awards, all of those things. Another article regarding India and submission of their COP30 targets, the carbon emission targets. All four of them are articles. None of them are editorials today. But yeah, जो important एक दो editorials हैं that we'll do on the newspaper. Although most of the editorials are from the repeated topics which we have already done. So yeah, these are the four topics for today's discussion, and of course 3 new vocabulary words like always. Chalo, you can see a lot of you on the chat. Good evening to everyone. Let's start our discussion by looking at the newspaper. Let me take you to the newspaper, just a second. Okay, I hope the newspaper is now visible to you all. Let's start. 9 electrocuted as rain pounds Kolkata. So rain has been hitting hard, not just in Kolkata, but also parts of Maharashtra. We'll see that later in the newspaper. But yeah, in Kolkata, a tragic incident has happened where these live wires, electricity wires, have come into contact with these flooded streets, and 9 people got electrocuted. मतलब बिजली का झटका लग गया उनको. So yeah, that's pretty sad. And Mamata Banerjee has slammed the power utility department. City received almost 250 mm rainfall over 24 hours, and everything got affected. Then on the right hand side, you see India-China primary funders of Russian war. This is the first time he has directly addressed both the countries and called them primary funders of the Russian war. इससे पहले भी बोला है, but indirectly बोला है. इतनी upfront तरीके से नहीं बोला. That is what he said at the UN General Assembly meeting, which is happening in New York. And more on this later. We'll talk more about the implications of this on the PPT. Let's move ahead. City-based news is not important for us. यहाँ पे Northwest Delhi में a lot of people lost their lives and some got hospitalized after consuming adulterated flour. What is flour? मैदा, आटा, basically अनाज. And basically this was kuttu ka aata. If you guys know what kuttu ka aata is, English में इसको buckwheat flour कहते हैं. And people from multiple places, Samaypur, Jahangir, Puri, Swaroop Nagar, Lal Bagh, these were the areas. Northwest Delhi padta hai. These people got affected because they ate rotis made from this contaminated flour during Navratri celebrations. अब इसमें इन्वेस्टिगेशन चल रही है. फूड डिपार्टमेंट इन्वेस्टिगेट कर रहा है. हमारे जो फूड प्रोसेसिंग मिनिस्टर हैं चिराग पासवान, उन्होंने बोला इन्वेस्टिगेशन होगी, नथिंग वुड बी टॉलरेटेड. एंड फिर ऑब्वियसली उस पर पॉलिटिकल ब्लेम गेम बिटवीन आम आदमी पार्टी एंड बीजेपी. दैट हैज हैपेंड. दिल्ली सीएम सेज डिफेसमेंट विल इनवाइट स्ट्रिक्ट एक्शन. डिफेसमेंट मतलब ऐसे किसी मॉन्यूमेंट वगैरह को खराब करना, डिफेस करना, डिस्ट्रॉय करना. That is what defacement is. ठीक है, nothing important here. This is all politics. You can skip this. All politics here. 10 killed as rains batter Marathwada region. Government announces 2215 crores. So this is the news from Maharashtra, which I was telling to you about. Dharashiv, Beed, Solapur, Ahilyanagar districts are the worst hit. NDRF teams have been deployed. and Maharashtra government has declared a wet drought, increase the compensation which is being provided to the victims of the flood affected areas. Right inside page, Stalin has criticized the PM statement on savings from GST reforms. Telangana BJP against Almaty Dam height increase questions silence of CM Revanth Reddy. So this is Telangana, and यहाँ पे एक ये डैम है लाल बहादुर शास्त्री डैम which is in a place called Almaty, also called the Almaty Dam, is built over the Krishna River and provides water to couple of districts in Telangana. तो उसकी हाइट को इंक्रीज करने का प्लान चल रहा है एंड तेलंगाना बीजेपी इज अगेंस्ट दैट. They strongly opposed attempt to raise the dam height and questioned the CM's silence. He pointed out that Karnataka government is reportedly planning to increase the dam's height, a move claimed to be detrimental to the farmers of Telangana. So yeah, this affects the district of Mehboob as well as Nalgonda and Rangareddy. Rangareddy, for your information, by the way, is the district where Nalsar is situated. So technically Hyderabad district नहीं आता है, Nalsar Rangareddy district में आता है. But anyway, वो नहीं पूछा जाएगा CLAT में. That's just for your trivia. No prohibition on sale of meat, fish, eggs during Navratri, clarify Bhopal officials. Okay. Experts call for resilient infrastructure as monsoon intensifies flood risk in Rajasthan. Rajasthan जैसी जगह में भी बाढ़ का खतरा आ रहा है. That's crazy. Assam singer Zubeen Garg, we already discussed about this. He's cremated with state honors. ठीक है. Okay, next article is criminal past alone cannot be a ground to deny bail. That is what Supreme Court said. Let's look at the context of this particular article. So this talks about a 2021 murder case of a SDPI leader called KS Shan in Kerala. And यहाँ पे 10 people were accused and they were allegedly linked to RSS, the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh. And this attack was said to be in retaliation for one of the earlier killings of an RSS worker by SDPI activists. So basically SDPI और RSS के बीच में एक sort of conflict था and this murder case happened. अब उसके बाद सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने अब क्या किया है? सुप्रीम कोर्ट हैज रिस्टोर्ड द बेल ऑफ 5 ऑफ दीज एक्यूज्ड आउट ऑफ 10, ओवररूलिंग द जजमेंट फ्रॉम केरला हाई कोर्ट. 2024 का जजमेंट ओवररूल कर दिया दैट हैड कैंसल्ड देयर बेल. एंड कोर्ट ने बोला कि जस्ट हैविंग अ क्रिमिनल रिकॉर्ड इज नॉट एन एनफ रीजन टू डिनाई समवन्स बेल और कैंसल समवन्स बेल, स्पेशली इफ द एक्यूज्ड हैज ऑलरेडी स्पेंट अ लॉन्ग टाइम इन जेल एज एन अंडर ट्रायल. इसका मतलब ये है कि अगर मान लो किसी का क्रिमिनल पास्ट है, किसी ने पहले कोई क्राइम एक्टिविटी करी है और फिर वो किसी क्राइम में पकड़ा जाता है, तो आप उसकी बेल इस ग्राउंड पे नहीं डिनाई करोगे कि आप तो भाई जो है सीरियल ऑफेंडर हो या आपका क्रिमिनल पास्ट है. अब इस पर्टिकुलर केस की अगर हम टाइमलाइन देखें तो 2022 में सेशंस कोर्ट विच इज द डिस्ट्रिक्ट कोर्ट इट ग्रांटेड बेल टू दिस 5 एक्यूज्ड एंड द रीजन वाज दैट दे वर इन जेल फॉर ओवर एन ईयर एंड पब्लिक प्रोसिक्यूटर ने कोई ऑब्जेक्शन नहीं रेज किया. फिर 2024 आ गया, केरला हाई कोर्ट ने इनकी बेल कैंसिल कर दी, saying that the sessions court's order was not correct and they did not consider the risk of witness tampering, and they also pointed out to the past criminal records. और फिर 2025 में recently Supreme Court ने इसको overrule कर दिया, saying that the accused has been out on bail for nearly 2 years and they have not done any misconduct, therefore the cancellation is unjustified. अब स्टेट ने बोला है कि 2 out of the 5 men have violated the bail conditions by entering Alappuzha and threatening someone. Alappuzha is another place in Kerala. But the accused said कि हम तो बस वहाँ पे ट्रायल के लिए गए थे. We did not threaten anyone. और जो विक्टिम था उसने भी बोल दिया कि he was not threatened. तो वही है कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने एस्टैब्लिश किया कि bail as a provision should be the rule. It should not be the exception. Bail should be the rule. Jail should be the exception. That is, and not a recent quote. This is an old quote given by Justice V.R. Krishna Iyer. तो वही चीज उन्होंने re-quote करी and they said that if the accused do not interfere with the evidence or with witnesses, they can be rearrested अगर ऐसा कुछ पता चलता है तो. And the mere fact that public prosecutor did not object earlier should not now be used against the accused because 2 साल हो चुके हैं एंड अब वापस उनको कस्टडी में डालना विदाउट एनी स्ट्रॉन्ग रीजन वुड बी अनफेयर। तो वही है कि फाइनल डिसीजन यही है कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने केरला हाईकोर्ट का ऑर्डर सेट असाइड कर दिया। ठीक है, राइट हैंड साइड पे यू सी झारखंड माइनॉरिटी पैनल आस्क्स पुलिस टू एक्सप्लेन डिटेंशन ऑफ नन एंड माइनर्स। तो वही पुराना वाला नन्स वाला केस है, कैथलिक नन्स वाला, हम ऑलरेडी डिस्कस कर चुके हैं। पैनल ने पूछा है कि क्यों डिटेन कर रखा है। ठीक है, आंध्र प्रदेश में सुप्रीम कोर्ट नहीं, स्केड्यूल कास्ट सब क्लासिफिकेशन बिल पास हो गया है। Basically, this says that within a schedule caste, there can be multiple classifications which can be made to ensure better distribution of reservation benefits. That's simply what it is. और ज़्यादा इसकी डिटेल में आपको जाने की ज़रूरत नहीं है। Currently, scheduled castes are entitled to 15% reservation in public sectors. Under the proposed classification, most backwards will now receive 6.5%. Group 2 will get 7.5%. Group 3 will get 1%. तो बेसिकली क्लासिफिकेशंस बना दिए इन्होंने। ठीक है, वी आर डाउन टू द एडिटोरियल सेक्शन, द इंटरप्रिटेशन ऑफ द लॉ इन ट्रम्प लैंड। ऑल्दो वी हैव डिस्कस्ड मोस्ट ऑफ दीज थिंग्स बिफोर, बट चलो एडिटोरियल है तो हम डिस्कस कर लेते हैं इसमें क्या क्या लिखा है। दिस जस्ट अ सेकंड। Yeah, so this article says that US has a lot of lawyers. This talks about powers of lawyers in Trump's world, essentially. That's the context of the article. And it says that US has almost 1.3 million lawyers, जिसमें इतने इतने criminal defense lawyers हैं, इतने इतने state prosecutors हैं, इतने इतने federal prosecutors हैं, इतनी इतनी law firms हैं. And among these top lawyers, there are a lot of lawyers who are wealthy and politically connected. And they are sort of working along with the government, and they are willing to take up controversial cases or work with political figures like Donald Trump. अब Donald Trump की यहाँ पे legal strategy क्या है? He has used the legal system as a business tool for the last 30 years, and he has been involved in more than 4,000 lawsuits. इसमें tax fraud के cases हैं, sexual misconduct के cases हैं, defamation के cases हैं, inciting violence के cases हैं. And for him, lawsuits are not about justice; they are about delaying the outcomes, settling for money, avoiding this guilt, controlling the narratives, and he's just using tools for making deals. It's not about fairness and accountability at all. And he's using these lawyers as weapons. He's hiring high-profile, loyal lawyers to, protect him legally, protect his business empire, spin political scandals, control narratives. And ये जो lawyers हैं, इनके भी deep government connections हैं. They are, very skilled at using legal loopholes and engage in out of court settlements without causing much damage. तो इससे जो है US as a legal institution, as a legal framework, उनका सिस्टम खराब हो रहा है. That has weakened the Department of Justice, फिर Congress की oversight, legal protections for civil rights, all of these are being abused, and the constitutional protections are not really serving the purpose of justice, but are just being used as tools to delay and avoid punishment. तो वही बात है कि दो चीजें होती है ना लॉ में, वन इज द लेटर ऑफ द लॉ एंड वन इज द स्पिरिट ऑफ द लॉ. दिस रिमाइंड्स मी, ये रेफरेंस अभी जॉली एलएलबी 3 जो मूवी आई है उसमें भी है, where the judge says that you have to look at the letter of the law, यानी कि लॉ में क्या लिखा हुआ है exactly, and also at the spirit of the law, कि लॉ का पीछे का इंटेंशन क्या है, लॉ मेकर्स का इंटेंशन क्या है, लॉ चाहता क्या है. So they're saying that Trump is not committed to legal principles, neither the letter of the law nor the spirit of the law. He just cherry picks legal clauses which suit his interest and ignores the rest of them. For him, the letter of the law is just a means to win the spirit of the law. So yeah, that is where these systemic weaknesses are helping him. A lot of plea bargains where full trial is not happening, avoiding trial, negotiating favorable terms, delaying the consequences, all of those things. And that is what this article tells, that Trump is using these lawyers not for justice, but to make deals and exploiting the legal loopholes. That's his survival strategy. And that is problematic. On the left hand side, you see penalty in proportion, criminal defamation is incompatible with democratic debate. This we already discussed yesterday in detail. वही same सारी बातें हैं, उसमें कुछ नया नहीं है. Okay, moving ahead, GST 2.0 to run like a well-oiled machine. ये भी हम काफ़ी बार वैसे डिस्कस कर चुके हैं. ये आर्टिकल मैं आपको बता देता हूँ क्या क्या बातें कह रहा है. बेसिकली जीएसटी हैज़ नाउ बीन इम्प्लीमेंटेड 22 से, एंड द टैक्स स्लैब्स हैव बीन सिंप्लीफाइड. 5%, 18% और 40% के टैक्स स्लैब्स हो गए हैं अब. And a lot of goods now fall in the 0%, 5%, 18% category. Daily use के items पे tax कम हो गया है, we all know that. Procedure has also now been simplified. Relabeling नहीं करनी पड़ेगी. Classification norms जो है थोड़े से सिंपल कर दिए हैं. इनपुट टैक्स रिफंड्स जो है फास्ट कर दिए हैं. पेपर वर्क कम कर दिया है. एंड दिस शुड हेल्प बिजनेसेस एज वेल एज कंज्यूमर्स. एमएसएमई इंडस्ट्री को काफ़ी फायदा होगा. इनपुट कॉस्ट और लिटिगेशन उनका कम हो जाएगा. कैश फ्लो बढ़ जाएगा. कंफ्यूजन कम हो जाएगा. टैक्स डिस्प्यूट कम हो जाएंगे. और कंज्यूमर्स के लिए जो है ऑब्वियसली प्राइसेस कम हो जाएंगे. सेविंग्स बढ़ जाएंगी. सो दे कैन स्पेंड मोर especially on non-luxury goods, and this would also control inflation to a certain extent. So yeah, that's what this is. And फिर इसमें गवर्नमेंट का पर्सपेक्टिव दिया हुआ है कि गवर्नमेंट and the finance minister specifically has called the reform rigorous but rewarding. And the goal is to make GST simplified and simplistic. And they're saying that public sector के जो insurers हैं, they will also pass on these tax savings to policy holders, क्योंकि आपका जो इंश्योरेंस है उसमें हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस और टर्म इंश्योरेंस पे टैक्स जीरो कर दिया गया. दैट्स वन एग्जांपल विच दे हैव गिवन. बाकी फिर वो थोड़ा सा आपको बताते हैं द रोल ऑफ CII, विच इज कन्फेडरेशन ऑफ इंडियन इंडस्ट्री, which has advocated for this GST reforms for almost an year. And they highlighted how there were problems with different tax structures, classification disputes, high taxes on essential items. And now this CII, after this implementation, is educating businesses to implement this change through seminars, workshops, and helping MSMEs to adapt to the new system. That's how this would run as a well-oiled machine. बट वही कह रहे हैं कि कुछ कुछ चैलेंजेस हैं. इम्प्लीमेंटेशन सही से करवाना ज़रूरी है. इंश्योर दैट सेविंग्स एक्चुअली रीच कंज्यूमर्स एंड नॉट जस्ट मैन्युफैक्चरर्स एंड रिटेलर्स. एंड देयर हैज़ टू बी अ सपोर्ट नेटवर्क where people are given legal expertise, accounting expertise, and they are able to transition from their old stock. They are able to repackage, they are able to do the labeling changes, etc., etc. And अगर कोई दिक्कत आती है तो उसके लिए there has to be a review mechanism. And these are the things on which the success of this reform depends. Collaboration between government, industry, consumers, and passing on the benefits. ठीक है जी. That is what this article tells us. आगे चलते हैं. On the left hand side you see recognition of Palestine is more than just symbolic. So we are recently seeing the recognition of Palestine by a lot of European countries. And इसका कॉन्टेक्स्ट मैं आपको ऑलरेडी कई बार बता चुका हूँ. इजराइल ने डिक्लेयर किया था पैलेस्टाइन को एज अ स्टेट ऑन May 14, 1948, और फिर यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स ने रिकॉग्नाइज कर लिया था उसको तुरंत उसके बाद ही. एंड इजराइल बिकेम अ UN मेंबर इन 1949. उसके बाद 1988 में PLO बना, which is Palestine Liberation Organization, which declared a state of Palestine, which was recognized by a lot of countries in global south. Western powers ने उस टाइम उसको recognize नहीं किया. They were insisting on a two-state solution. और अब जाके in 2025 सितंबर यूके ने रिकॉग्नाइज कर लिया, फ्रांस ने कर लिया, कनाडा ने कर लिया, ऑस्ट्रेलिया ने कर लिया, फॉर्मली रिकॉग्नाइज कर लिया इनको, विच इज अ बिग शिफ्ट फ्रॉम देयर प्रीवियस पोजीशंस. एंड ऐसा क्यों किया है? बिकॉज ऑफ ऑब्वियसली व्हाट्स हैपनिंग इन गाजा, मैसिव डिस्ट्रक्शन, सिविलियन डेथ्स, इंटरनेशनल आउटरीच, expansion on Israeli settlements, rising displacement of Palestinians, and Israel की जो लीडरशिप है उन्होंने पैलेस्टीनियन स्टेट का आइडिया रिजेक्ट कर दिया है, एंड दे आर एंजॉयिंग द सपोर्ट फ्रॉम US. अब ये आर्टिकल कहता है कि ये रिकॉग्निशन सिर्फ सिंबॉलिक नहीं है. दिस इज सेंडिंग अ पॉलिटिकल मैसेज दैट द प्रो इजराइल वेस्टर्न कंसेंसस इज क्रैकिंग, इट इज ब्रेकिंग अपार्ट. एंड इजराइल का जो अनचेक्ड यूज ऑफ फोर्स है एंड ये जो एक्सपेंशन है, this should not happen. And they're trying to increase pressure on Israel diplomatically. They're strengthening their claim to Palestine's statehood, which should open peace building efforts from Israel. That is what the intention of the this move is, that this leads to peace in the region, and that is why they have recognized it. आगे चलते हैं. लेसन्स फ्रॉम इंडियाज वैक्सीनेशन ड्राइव. इनमें भी कुछ इतना खास है नहीं. बेसिकली जो वैक्सीनेशन ड्राइव रिसेंटली हुई थी लार्ज स्केल, उसमें क्या क्या चीज़ें पता चली हैं. इट टॉक्स अबाउट हाउ India's universal immunization program is the largest in the world, and it annually vaccinates 2.6 crore infants, 2.9 crore pregnant women. And उसका क्या impact होता है child mortality पे? कौन कौन सी वैक्सीन होती है? फ्री वैक्सीनेशन होती है अगेंस्ट 12 डिजीजेस, एंड उसमें 11 आर वैक्सीन अक्रॉस इंडिया एंड वन इज रीजन स्पेसिफिक वैक्सीन, कि जहाँ जहाँ वो डिजीज पाया जाता है वहाँ वहाँ। अब इसमें काफ़ी सारे नए एडिशंस हुए हैं इन द लास्ट 10 ईयर्स, जैसे टेटनस की वैक्सीन हैज़ बीन इंक्लूडेड, डिप्थेरिया की वैक्सीन हैज़ बीन इंक्लूडेड, पोलियो हैज़ बीन इंक्लूडेड, मीजल्स हैज़ बीन इंक्लूडेड, रोटा वायरस इंक्लूडेड, आपका और भी है, जापानीज एंसेफेलाइटिस हैज़ बीन इंक्लूडेड. So these new vaccines have made it to the vaccination drive, and just mission के through ये हम चीजें कर रहे हैं. That's called mission Indradhanush. Mission Indradhanush and intensified mission Indradhanush. These are the two names which are launched to boost immunization coverage in India, which was at 62% in 2014 to 90%. अब इसके 12 फेज जो हैं कंप्लीट हो चुके हैं, एंड अब आगे चल के रिमेनिंग फेजेस वुड गेट कंप्लीटेड, बट इसमें काफी सारे चैलेंजेस हैं. What are the challenges? Reaching out to remote populations, low awareness among people, hesitancy in getting vaccines done, and इसके लिए government solve कर रही है ये problems by doing zero dose outreach, by digital tracking, by creating awareness programs, by upgrading infrastructure. All of those things are happening. अब इसमें काफी सारे achievements भी रहे हैं हमारे, जैसे India became polio free in 2011, and मैटरनल टेटनस को हमने एलिमिनेट कर दिया इन 2015. यॉज करके एक डिजीज है, उसको हमने एलिमिनेट कर दिया बाय 2016. मीजल्स जो है हमने बहुत एक्सटेंट तक कम कर दिया. सो वही है कि वी आर प्लानिंग टू क्लोज दीज इम्यूनिटी गैप्स एंड अचीव अ 95% प्लस वैक्सीनेशन कवरेज. एंड उसमें टेक्नोलॉजी एंड डिजिटल टूल्स आर प्लेइंग अ बिग रोल. जैसे कोविन करके हमने एक ऐप बनाई थी ड्यूरिंग द कोविड-19. उसी तरीके से द गवर्नमेंट इज प्लानिंग टू एक्सपैंड द डिजिटल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर टू ट्रैक दिस वैक्सीनेशन एफर्ट अमंग चिल्ड्रन एज वेल एज विमेन. तो बस यही सारी बातें हैं कि हमें जो है वैक्सीनेशन को सर्वेलेंस से लिंक करना पड़ेगा. वी हैव टू टैकल दिस एंटी वैक्सीन वाला नैरेटिव. वी हैव टू अडॉप्ट अ वन हेल्थ अप्रोच जहाँ पे भी इंटीग्रेट ह्यूमन, एनिमल एज वेल एज एनवायरमेंटल हेल्थ सर्वेलेंस. ठीक है जी, आगे चलते हैं. It's not important. Mapping of India-China border, ये हम बहुत बार पढ़ चुके हैं, इसमें कुछ भी नया नहीं है. During the 267-year Manchu rule, two major maps of empire were prepared. The first is Emperor Kangxi's map depicting the territorial bequest of Tibet, Assam segment, to the then Republic of China. The second map depicts its territorial bequest to ROC in the eastern Turkestan Kashmir segment. This is in the Chen Lung's map. And in 1943, when World War III was at its peak, a tottering ROC felt emboldened enough to set aside Manchu's territorial bequest. Basically, how the map of China evolved. That is what this article is about. How is the jewelry sector coping with US tariffs? ये भी हम discuss कर चुके हैं. While the US has imposed 50% duty on India's cut and polished diamonds, it has imposed 50 to 57% duty on studded and non-studded jewelry, which is upsetting this trade. The industry also wants government to allow SEZs to sell their goods in the domestic market with import duty foregone. Currently, exporters are allowed to sell in the domestic market, but with a duty of 20% on the finished product. The tariffs are disrupting businesses which were set for almost 5 decades. These tariffs will disproportionately affect MSMEs which have invested for years to build up their business. ठीक है. This we already discussed. Trump's H-1B. China के envoy कह रहे हैं don't let boundary disputes define our ties. National Day का यह फंक्शन हुआ जहाँ पे एम्बेसडर जू फियोंग ने कहा trade between the two nations is up by 10% and 2.6 lakh visas were issued to Indians this year. His first remark since Modi's visit to China. एक्सरसाइज कोल्ड स्टार्ट की हम बात करेंगे ऑन द पीपीटी. सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने हिमाचल गवर्नमेंट को बोला है दैट यू हैव टू क्रिएट डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट मेजर्स. ओके, ठीक है, नथिंग इंपॉर्टेंट है. कोलकाता में बारिश से दुर्गा पंडाल्स आर बीइंग डैमेज्ड. 10,000 each would be given to 75 lakh women in Bihar under this job scheme. What is this job scheme? This is Mukhyamantri Mahila Rozgar Yojana. Okay, nice. Good. AIMIM will launch the Bihar campaign. This is all politics. President Lord's women-centric films is regarding national awards, जिसकी हम बात करेंगे PPT पे. देखेंगे किस किसने जीते national awards. India to submit updated carbon reduction targets. This also we'll look at on the PPT. ठीक है. Festive sales और GST rate cut से automobiles की sales बढ़ गई है. ठीक है. Nothing relevant there. NATO asks Russia to stop escalatory airspace violations on the eastern flank. This is also something which we'll discuss on the PPT. NATO and allies will employ, with international law, all necessary military and non-military tools to deter all threats from all directions, says the military bloc. Norway complains of airspace violations by Russia thrice this year. Danish PM flags drone flights over Copenhagen airport. Okay. High-skilled migrants are key for US growth, says OECD chief. Trump is saying UNGA is not living up to its potential. Bangladesh seeks better ties with India's Northeast, Nepal and Bhutan. आज इंडिया का मैच है बांग्लादेश के साथ. पाकिस्तान ने कल श्रीलंका को हरा दिया है. Dickie Bird, who was an umpire, cricket umpire, passed away. Dembele and Bonmati crowned the best in the world. तो इनको मिल गया है Ballon d'Or, football का जो one of the most prestigious awards. So the men's winner is a footballer called Ousmane Dembele. He plays with PSG, Paris Saint-Germain, and he led PSG to its first ever UEFA Champions League title. काफी सारे इन्होंने goals मारे, and he said that it's incredible to win a trophy like this. This award was presented by Ronaldinho, who's also a former Ballon d'Or winner. And yeah, that's what you need to know. Women football mein, the winner was Aitana Bonmati, who plays for Spain, like the national team Spain, and club team is FC Barcelona. She plays for FC Barcelona. And yeah, that's it. That's all you need to know. बाकी अंडर 21 मेल प्लेयर बेस्ट प्लेयर थे Lamine Yamal, again from Barcelona. That is called the Copa Trophy. That award is called the Copa Trophy. ठीक है, that's all you need to know. These three names. बाकी स्पोर्ट्स न्यूज में और कुछ ज़्यादा नहीं है. That's all about the newspaper for the day. Let's come back to our PPT. Okay, the 4 articles. The first one is Trump and NATO and Russia. So let's discuss what's happening there. Now, taking his often repeated allegations against India to the floor of the UNGA, Trump Tuesday accused India and China of being primary funders of the Russia-Ukraine war. He claimed again that he stopped the India-Pakistan conflict, and he said that he was prepared to impose very strong tariffs that would end the purchase of Russian oil, but wanted European countries to join in the effort. He said that many NATO countries continued to purchase Russian energy, including gas. Despite accusations against multiple countries and the fact that China imports more Russian energy than India, US has singled out India by imposing penalty tariffs of 25%, doubling the existing tariffs and making it 50%. Now the court upheld the voter. एक सेकेंड, ये शायद गलत स्लाइड आ गई है. हाँ, UNGA की हम बात कर रहे थे. UNGA is one of the 6 principal organs of the UN. Serves as UNGA's main deliberative, policy making and representative organ. Only organ where all member states have equal representation, यानी सबके पास एक वोट होता है. And it provides a unique forum for multilateral discussion. First session was held in 10th January 1946 in London. Headquarters are in New York. और NATO की बात करें तो we all know NATO is involved here in this particular article because of Article 5 and a collective defense. क्योंकि maximum European Union countries are part of NATO. आपका काम है मुझे बताना which are the European Union countries rather, which are not part of NATO. There are 4 such countries. Tell me in the chat box जल्दी से. Which are the 4 countries which are part of the EU but not part of NATO? बाकी maximum European Union countries are part of NATO, which is a military alliance. So they asked Russia to stop this escalatory violations of its airspace on the eastern flank. And हाँ, हम बात कर रहे थे NATO की. So NATO is a political and military alliance created in aftermath of World War II by 12 countries from Europe and North America, founded on 4th April 1949. These were the 12 founding members. Headquarters is Brussels, Belgium. It was formed by signing of the Washington Treaty based on Article 51 of the UN Charter, which talks about collective defense. The principle of collective defense, that is, ek pe attack matlab sab pe attack, is given in Article 5 of the NATO Treaty, which commits NATO members to mutual defense. Okay. The next article is regarding India holding mega drone drill called Cold Start next month. Army, Navy, and Air Force will conduct a joint exercise in the first week of October to test drones and counter drone systems. This is named Cold Start. This is likely to start in MP. Officials described it as the biggest such drill to be conducted since Operation Sindoor, and we would be testing the effectiveness and shortcomings of the current air defense capabilities. And this would focus on evaluating operational readiness against aerial threats. Industry partners, research, development agencies, academia, and other stakeholders will participate as well. And lastly, we have the national awards. Now, national awards, mein Draupadi Murmu was there, our president, and she presented the Dada Saheb Phalke Award to actor Mohanlal and gave other awards to other winners at the 71st National Awards ceremony. Cinema is the heartbeat of my soul, Jai Hind, Mohanlal said after receiving the country's highest cinema honor. She congratulated all other winners and Mohanlal's contributions. Best Male Actor Award went to Shah Rukh Khan for his movie Jawan, and jointly the award was won by Vikrant Massey for his movie 12th Fail. So, दो लोगों को Best Male Actor Award मिला. 12th Fail was also declared the best feature film. Rani Mukherjee got the Best Female Actor Award for her role in Mrs. Chatterjee versus Norway. Best Direction Award was given to Sudipto Sen for the Kerala Story, and it also won the Best Cinematography Award in that category. ये important awards हैं जो आपको याद होने चाहिए. Best Feature Film was 12th Fail. Best Direction, Sudipto Sen, Kerala Story. Best Actor, Shah Rukh Khan and Vikrant Massey. Best Actress, Rani Mukherjee. Best Popular Film Providing Entertainment, Rocky और रानी की प्रेम कहानी. Best Debut Film of a Director, Atma Pamphlet. And the best film promoting national, social and environmental values, this was Sam Bahadur. ठीक है, तो इसका आप चाहो तो स्क्रीनशॉट ले सकते हो. This is what you need to know. And the last article is regarding the COP30 carbon reduction targets, which India would submit by 10th of November. The updated NDCs, the nationally determined contributions around the commencement of the COP30 summit, which is going to happen in Brazil on 10th of November, with an increased target for energy efficiency improvement. India updated its NDCs in 2022 when it committed to the reduction of emissions intensity by 45%. And we source half of the electric power from non-fossil fuel sources, and we plan to create a carbon sink of at least 2 billion tons by 2030. These are the goals. The emission intensity refers to the amount of carbon emitted per unit of GDP and does not mean a reduction in net emissions. As of 2023 December, India reported to UN climate governing body that the emission intensity has reduced by 33% in the last few years. India reported installing at least 50% of power capacity from non-fossil fuel sources. And the updated NDCs, or the NDC 3.0, is expected to reflect the degree of emission reduction by 2035. अभी सिर्फ 30 countries ने ये submit किया है ahead of this COP30 summit. And these NDCs are of significance because in Brazil, which assumes the COP presidency, they are stressing the major efforts this year will be to assess what hindered countries from achieving their decided or stated NDCs, and commitments by countries, even if achieved perfectly, cannot stop the globe from heating to an average 3 degrees Celsius by the century, which is well short of the goals of Paris Climate Agreement, which is 1.5 degrees. ठीक है. European Union has announced a 2035 target. Long-term goal is to achieve net zero carbon emission by 2050, and they have proposed an amendment to the EU climate law enabling 90% cut in emissions by 2040. There were a vote on target in 2035 last week. France and Germany weighed in to postpone a vote on the matter. EU is expected to submit its NDC with an indicative target in the range of 66.25 to 72.5%. ये numbers आपको याद नहीं करने. ऑस्ट्रेलिया ने भी अपना target update कर दिया है. NDC is a non-binding climate action plan to cut emissions and adapt to climate impacts. They represent short to medium term plans required to be updated every 5 years with increasingly higher ambitions. एंड इनमें जो प्लेज होता है, मतलब आप जो डिसाइड करते हो, दैट इज वॉलंटरी, अपनी मर्जी से कंट्रीज डिसाइड करती है विदाउट एनी लीगल पेनल्टी इफ दे फेल टू meet the goal. लेकिन they are obligated in the Paris Agreement to monitor the progress. Countries like Britain and Chile have incorporated them into the national law, making them legally binding at the national level. ठीक है, that's all about the analysis for the day. Let's talk about today's vocabulary. The first word is pelf. Pelf मतलब होता है पैसा, money, especially gained in a dishonest or dishonorable way. काला धन, bucks, cash, money. He was a politician who seems more interested in pelf than in policy. The next word is inimical. Inimical मतलब होता है obstructing, tending to obstruct or harm something. Adversarial, adversary, antagonistic, these are synonyms. Friendly, hospitable, non-antagonistic are antonyms. These policies are inimical to the interest of the society. Last word for the day is spry. Spry मतलब होता है active or lively, sprightly, lively, energetic. These are synonyms. He continued to look spry and active well in his 80s. Antonyms are dull, lethargic, listless. And that brings us to the end of today's analysis. Spry is active, inimical is obstructing, harm, and pelf is black money. All right, so that's all for today. I'll see you guys tomorrow, same time, 8 p.m. And the next quiz is going to happen on Friday, which we have planned to keep it a surprise. Okay, ciao. That's all for the day, guys. Thank you so much. Tata, bye bye. Signing off.